car, handcuffed, and that's what happened last night.
The police kicked in the door, shot him twice in the chest, and he died.
Before you knew it, we had 500 families. We had over 100 volunteers calling us. We were on the phone constantly.
I can't get it. And I got one police department telling me they don't know who's in charge. I got another police department here. Everybody's got a gun and nobody knows who's in charge. Did anybody figure out who's in charge yet? Is there anybody in charge here? Any police officer in charge? Are you in charge? I can't find anybody in charge. That's the problem.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into Revolution Radio. Make sure you share this out because this is the Idavox Report.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Idavox Report and the Quiet Storm with Daryle Lamont Jenkins, Brian Powers, and Christian Perez. Up next is Exodus and Toxic Waltz.
If only we had the rights.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we were just listening to Exodus. I heard God Forbid is getting back together. That's what I'm
Nice.
So let's see about that. They might be getting back together. We'll see what happens. Them cats actually went to the same high school as me. So
please, the first time I saw God Forbid,
be true.
Please let that. The first time I saw them, they came out to the "Cause I'm Black Y'all" song from CB4. That was hilarious. I feel like I was the only person that like got it, and they came out and killed it. It was awesome. I only ended up having one of their albums. I think it was like Constitution of Treason. Came out about 15, 16 years ago. That was the one I got. That was a good one.
See, me and we all went to the same high school. I was like maybe 6 years before them, so I never really saw them in the hallways or anything like that. But and the only time I ever saw like God Forbid playing was at the Plum Street Pub here in New Brunswick, which is now a Chinese restaurant. So a little storefront Chinese restaurant, and it was just a little bar, and bands, like small bands would just come out and play and do that thing. And Brian, me and him used to do security for things like the Warped Tour and stuff. But Brian is breaking up on us right now. But I was referring to the other Brian, the Brian from God Forbid. And Corey played drum in a band with my
for those
Corey.
For those in New Jersey.
You're dying on us, Brian. I think Brian is now frozen. No, Brian is back. Well, in any case, this is not that metal show. But wait a minute, what are you gonna say, Brian? Every time Brian tries to say something, he freezes. So we're just gonna go on. Welcome to the Idavox Report. As I said before, I'm Daryle Lamont Jenkins. Meet Brian Powers, the Frozen, and Christian Perez over here at Perez Podcast. Definitely pray that Brian comes back.
Let's hope so, right?
Oh boy. Yeah, hey, technical difficulties. It's a live show, but we're glad that you're there. We're glad that you're watching. We're glad that you're going to enjoy the show.
Oh yeah.
Because we're going to talk about Juneteenth today. Yes. Juneteenth on Saturday. We will be celebrating, observing, if you will, the total freedom of the slaves and the total eradication of the slave not culture but slave industry in the United States. Well, maybe you know what? Let me rephrase that. 14th Amendment didn't free everybody from slavery. If you're going to jail, you are, according to the Constitution, it's okay for you to be a slave. So,
the huge step forward for our
13th, I'm sorry.
it was a huge step forward for our country. But slavery still exists. It exists today. It exists probably in your state. Whether it be sex trafficking, trafficking of minors. We just had a large temple. I don't want to besmirch anybody's religion by naming the wrong denomination or getting into too much of the particular, but a temple which was allegedly using slave labor in our home state of New Jersey. So we celebrate this huge step forward, but
it was still against the law. It was against the law when they did it. So
it is illegal now in the United States to own slaves, yes, and that's the real victory, you know.
And unless you run a prison, so that's the exception to the rule. So, but here's the thing. I mean, the reason why we celebrate it is because this is the 155th anniversary of Juneteenth, because it goes back to President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Now, the way they like to tell the story is that the news didn't get to Texas yet. Texas was a Confederate state. They wasn't letting go of their slaves during the Civil War. No Southern state was going to do that. And basically, the Emancipation Proclamation outlawed slavery in the Southern states. They had to win the war first to make it stick. So they won the war in 1865, in April of 1865, but still, they say the news did not get down to Texas. I think it was basically a case of those slave owners holding on for dear life when it comes to all of this stuff. So what happened?
I think the argument was there were other. Obviously, it's wrong, and I'm not defending anybody, but their argument was that there was another harvest that they wanted to keep the slaves for, the enslaved people for. So, I mean, again, it was they had lost the war, and they were still allowed, I think, one more harvest to use these people as slave labor. That's America.
That would make sense. But then there was a little bit of a problem because Robert E. Lee surrendered at in Appomattox on April 9th, 1865. So the Western Army of the Trans-Mississippi, they didn't surrender until June 2nd. So basically the war for the most part didn't really end until June 2nd. So on the morning of Monday, June 19th, 1865, I'm reading this off of Wikipedia, Union Major General Gordon Granger arrived on the island of Galveston, Texas, to take command of the more than 2,000 federal troops that recently landed in the Department of Texas to enforce the emancipation of its slaves. So when he got there, they basically announced General Order Number 3 at the Union Army headquarters. No, did they do that? No, he read General Order Number 3 that basically said, you know what, slavery is done, you guys are free. And there was barbecues, there was festivals, everybody just said, this is Jubilee Day. This is Jubilee Day. So that was what gave us Juneteenth. And a lot of us really didn't talk about Juneteenth as we were coming up. We didn't know about this. And if the folks who hate critical race theory, who are bastardizing what critical race theory is to attack Black history, if they have their way, we would have never known about Juneteenth. And that's something you got to remember about the whole critical race theory argument. It really is a case of a bunch of idiots who have always been trying to attack attack us, trying to keep us from learning our history, trying to throw every roadblock in the way, and they're now using the notion of critical race theory, which has nothing to do with the idea of history, to attack the history, to attack talking about racism to begin with. So basically, they're trying to put you in jail if you even so much as mention Frederick Douglass or Harriet Tubman.
Yeah, it's the teaching of facts.
Yeah. Brian, you got something?
Yeah, I mean, we see this battle in the public sphere, and there's the legislative fight, but there's the revolution at home, and as a parent, I do take the opportunities on holidays to talk to my kids about what that holiday is about, whether it be Indigenous Peoples Day or Martin Luther King's birthday, or now it will be Juneteenth. And so that's why it's so important, this law that's going to pass, what makes it an official holiday, even though it's, for government, I hate so much. But the idea that there's public awareness and part of this revolution and part of fighting for critical race theory and part of fighting to teach people about Frederick Douglass or Ida B. Wells is sitting down at the dinner table with your kids and saying, here's something in history, and this is why you're off of school today. This is why you're seeing this stuff on the TV. My summer project with my kids, we're listening to a 19 episode podcast on the Haitian Revolution. So
there you go. I mean, that was a real revolution.
Take that opportunity to teach your children what our school system is, and if they're going to pass fucking laws like this, then we got to take our duty as parents more seriously.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm glad y'all mentioned that, because for years Danny Glover's been trying to do a movie about the Haitian Revolution, doing a movie about Toussaint Louverture, but people like fascists like David Horowitz, an anti-Muslim activist who used to be the editor of the left-wing Ramparts magazine. Now he makes it his sworn duty to go after anything black or Muslim, and has brought in a lot of neo-fascists into his ranks. He turned
like in the 60s or 70s, I think.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest beef with him is that he promoted a so-called study. It was actually a propaganda piece that was published, that was written and done up by the New Century Foundation, which is run by Jared Taylor, who gives us American Renaissance.
Yeah.
He made that, it was called The Color of Crime, which basically just talked about black people committing crimes. And yes, white supremacists are going to focus on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always bad faith. These are the types that always act in bad faith, whether it's Fox News, whether it's the extreme far right, because I mean Fox News is the far right now at this point. They're never really going to be able to define what critical race theory is, but that's the point, right? If they can't define it, if they can't pin it down, then everything they don't like becomes critical race theory. And they know that their supporters are not critical thinkers. They're not going to analyze. They're not going to look up primary sources. So, I mean, but like, let's be honest, that's what this is, right? When you want to take down a Columbus statue, the people that fight back, those are the people that are against critical race theory, right? The people that stick their head in the sand when you try to explain to them how the world really is. They're like, critical race theory is just teaching facts, and that's the problem. And
let's be fair.
I'm just real to say that there's this myth that it's teaching people to hate. It's teaching children to hate white people or white kids to hate themselves. That's got nothing to do with that, right? And as somebody who lectures on conspiracy theories, that's what this is. The fear of it is a conspiracy theory.
Well, let's be fair too. Critical race theory is not what the conservatives say. Critical race
absolutely.
Is.
Never.
Yeah. It is basically the study of how law and race and social political situations intersect. That's not being taught in the schools.
Yeah,
they're attacking. They're basically doing what they accused us of doing when we were trying to take down all those Confederate statues. They are trying to erase history.
But and that's what they do. It's always misdirection. It's alys misdirection.
It's not going to work. It has never worked before. It's not going to work now. And if you want any reason, if you want any understanding as to why it doesn't work, just start following Mark Lamont Hill on Twitter.
Oh, he's been killing it lately.
He's been killing it lately.
Did you see that 20-year-old he wiped the floor with from Georgia?
CJ Pearson. That kid, man.
That was like watching a bear rip apart a salmon, like on the Discovery Channel. That was an ass whooping.
Yeah.
That was
I mean,
ass.
and that's I mean, by the way, this show appears on something called the Black News Channel, which is ironically started by a Trump supporter and J.C. Watts, who used to be a Republican congressman out of Oklahoma. But when you watch the show, if you watch the channel, you couldn't tell. You could not tell. I've been on
Lamont Hill is one of the best out there. I mean,
Yes.
he spent all those years at Fox, all those years at CNN. He knows how to work a camera. He, as a scholar, he's brilliant. He's probably the best communicator I've seen. He's probably a better communicator than Cornel West, because Cornel West tends to like talk above people's heads and make references that people don't always understand. Mark Lamont Hill he might be the best out there doing it, man.
Yeah, Mark Lamont Hill will call you on your BS.
Yeah,
Cornel West will as well, but there's a different way that that Dr. Hill does it. You know.
Yeah, and I love Dr. West. I love Dr. West.
Dr. West is a man of God. Dr. West is a man of God, and Daryle, you a little more spiritual than me. There's an approach that's different, you know, from spiritual people than from critics, and so you know, Mark Mark don't have no part of him that's going to turn the other cheek.
No, he does not.
You know, Cornell.
I am a spiritual person, but I'm leaning Mark. I'm leaning Dr. Hill. I mean, I got to do that. I mean, because we got work to do, and I'll get to some of the work that we have to do because Juneteenth is actually being bastardized in New Jersey. But we'll get to that in a minute. I want to talk a little bit more about Juneteenth, but and about this whole thing with critical race theory because we got news today that the Senate unanimously voted to make Juneteenth a national holiday. So now it goes to the House where they have to vote on it, and then it will go. And then if it passes the House, and it damn sure better pass the House, Biden will have to sign it, and he damn sure better sign it.
I think he will.
Like, you know,
he's taking a lot of slack for Guatemala. He's not going to deliver on racial justice, right? So they need a win. And I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to say, "Oh, it's just symbolic." I mean, absolutely, it is symbolic. This is important. This is a good thing. But this is what they do, right? They're going to pass this, but there's not going to be any like major legislation that's going to come. This is what we get in place of legislation.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this right now: if we say you need to pass some voting rights acts to protect us from all the suppression efforts, or if we tell you to do the George Floyd Police Reform Act or whatever, I forgot the exact title. If we tell you to do that, and your response is, "But we gave you Juneteenth," I'm coming for you. You better not just shut it up.
But that's what it's going to be. That's
They better not. They better not. I don't think they're that stupid. They know.
Well, they're not going to say. They're not going to say it explicitly. I don't think they're going to be like, "Well, we get." You know,
I don't know these days. Maybe the Democrats will. Some of the conservatives will. I know. I can see Rand Paul.
I could see conservative. I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about liberals. I could absolutely see.
Liberals too.
Saying this. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, we're talking conservatives. Yeah.
We'll say some silly shit on Facebook headlines or Twitter headlines at some point. Guaranteed.
In conservative America, black people not succeeding after 1866 is on them. Like that's how they see it, right? Like if you're black in 1866 and after, and you don't make it, like that's on you. Like they don't. Again, these are not critical thinkers. These are ahistorical, thinkers. Yeah.
I just and when black people get caught up in all that conservatism, it just really looks stupid. I mean,
it's embarrassing.
Thomas Walter E. Williams were despicable. I mean, I'll tell you that. I mean, Clarence Thomas is despicable. I think, however, when you look at the black conservatives of today, I am not so much worried about them as I am annoyed. I mean, there's a guy named
bright.
No, Brandon Tatum is one of them that really pissed me off this weekend because it's one thing to it doesn't look like these folks are doing anything but trying to clout chase, basically. Yeah. They just want to say stupid things for clicks and likes, and this dipshit decided to defend Tulsa.
What?
He defended Tulsa.
Oh, come on, man. What
a black man saying that trying to justify what happened in.
I don't want to even ask.
That exists.
But how do you?
He did that shit.
I'm just gonna get angrier hearing the explanation.
He starts off.
But how do you?
He said it's an example why you can't believe. This is the black man saying this. This is a good reason why you can't believe what 90% of what black people say. And it's like, including you, asshole, including you. Did you forget?
Yeah, let me start by not believing him. But what? I really don't want to get into.
Look, I'm going to say this: there are people that just don't get it.
Justifiable about how do you even? Where you even start? Where do you even start?
Look, we live in a world
to town for no reason other than they were white and annoyed.
We live in a world where there were. We live in a world where there are currently Russian Nazis, right? Like the Nazis killed 20 million Russians, and there are Russians that are out there flying the Nazi flag. There were far-right Jewish people living in Palestine in the 30s and 40s that were willing to work with the Nazi party as the Nazis were killing Jews, right? Like cognitive dissonance has been around forever, but I didn't hear about this.
Oh, no, this was bad. This was just a couple of days ago. And, we always try to not give these characters any kind of energy by talking about them. I know that we always say that, but they need to be in some respects seen as some sort of a case study as to how pathetic things have gotten. I look at Candace Owens as another example. I have never heard her say anything positive about black people ever. And
it's so easy to be right wing. So easy to be right wing
because everything's done for you.
Yeah,
and
I'm the same arguments.
Yeah,
and if you're a person of color, they will like flock to you. Now, I'm going to shout it out. You were on that. Was it the Tammy Mack show?
Right.
And you were on it twice with the woman. I won't mention her name. She was a black conservative. She brought nothing to the table. Right. Her whole life is spent on the internet. Her whole life is spent on like, annoying people on the internet and chasing likes, and she just, there was no substance in anything she said. So whether it's Ted Cruz or Ben Carson or oh my God, I forgot his name. Who's that?
Or Jesse Lee Peterson, who's another guy.
Jesse Lee Peterson's another level of dumb. But I was thinking Herman Cain before he passed away. Like they just
so dumb. He got himself killed being dumb.
We need a better class of conservatives of color. Not that I want them, because if they're smarter, they're dangerous.
Here's what's important about that. We do have a better class of conservatives of color, because the fact of the matter is you have a lot of conservatives out there that bring some shit to the table. Now, whether or not I like that shit to the table, that's one thing, of course. But when you talk, like Condoleezza Rice, for example, I'm not going to put her in the category as
she's a functionary.
Yeah, when you're looking at somebody like, and bear in mind, I think that when it comes to conservatism is bullshit. Let's not get it twisted, especially when it's coming from black people. I think it's incredibly bullshit. I understand it now more so because when you look at the advances that we as people of color made in society over the past 30 years or so, you're going to see folks go in that direction. Now, when you start dealing with the Candace Owens and the Hodge twins and the Jesse Lee Petersons and the Brandon,
what's the other one? Is it Silk and Spice? What are they?
Diamond and Silk, and they're a perfect good example of what I'm going to say. And this Brandon Tatum character. Now you're looking at a minstrel show. That's all you're looking at. They're basically saying shit that will make their the people who pay them, the people who they are entertaining, for lack of a better term, happy, Yeah. So when you hear Brandon Tatum try to defend Tulsa, bear in mind one of the reasons why, one of the ways I learned about Tulsa, the way I learned about Tulsa was I was online. One of the first times I was online back in '96. I'm not going to mention the band's name, but it were a white power band out of Tulsa, and they were a neo-Nazi band. Let me just make that clear, straight up 1.0. They have a song about Tulsa.
Mm.
And they are boasting about what they did, talking about how they had the N-word on the run in 1921, you know, and that's how I first heard about that. And I was like, well, what the hell are they talking about? And being that I had the internet in my hand, I figured I'd see if there's anything on the internet. Remember, this was 96, so who knows? And to see what I could come up with. Didn't find anything, looked in the library, and damn. So this asshole comes up and tries to defend that.
Yeah, you like know, what? Okay, it's not now. I'm okay. Time out. Ready? What's his reasoning?
He's going.
Does he buy into the myth that like that white woman would?
He's going straight up by what they are saying, what they had said about Tulsa. That's all.
So let's believe white supremacists from 100 years ago. Whatever. Okay.
He's justifying.
Freedom of speech, folks.
Why he said, the guy tried to rape a white woman, and I was like, oh, fucking idiot.
One of my heroes is Eugene Debs, but one of the things he and most white socialists have always made the mistake of is not paying attention to race as a factor and only paying attention to class, right? I mean, there's certainly that reductionism, class reductionism, which I try to avoid. You know, when I talk about stuff, because in the United States, race plays a factor. You know, we have all this history and ingrained issues with immigration throughout our hundreds of years. So we can't deny it. But, you know, you got to think when we're talking about these different people from different backgrounds having, this similar kind of political leaning. And there's plenty of conservatives of different colors. My therapist was a black woman who voted for Guadagno based on she didn't want weed to be legal. I mean, you know, so it just goes to show you that, you know, look, and we hear, look, people all the time are grouped together. But I think, you know, it was more that she was somebody with means. So when you bring class into it as a solution, as opposed to an analysis, you know, whether you're an anarchist or whether you're a communist or socialist or whatever, or whether you just see the massive amounts of inequality that exist in our current capitalist system, we can't ignore that in our analysis. But we can say, I think, that, look, you know, we advocate against capitalism for a reason. And it's because Marx recognized that a reduction in the levels of inequality and the elimination of class gets rid of a lot of this conflict, you know. And I'm not saying it's a panacea when it comes to race relations, because it's not. But it's also the effect of, you're seeing, you know, you're going to have black bourgeoisie, you're going to have, Latino bourgeoisie, you're going to have, I mean, like, you know, everybody's got their friend from a Colombia that's afraid of these rebels. And you see the picture of their friend from Colombia has got, you know, pink pants on and no socks and is sitting there sipping a mimosa. I mean, you know, there's classes everywhere, and class structure creates conflict.
Well, remember that, it was like what Fred Hampton once said: racism is a byproduct of capital. I'm sorry, capitalism is a byproduct of racism. So it's always going to be that. It's always going to be that class struggle.
Did you hear what came out this week with Diddy?
About what? What Diddy?
So Diddy. So apparently there was it was a young brother and sister. I think the brother in high school, and I think the sister is actually a student at Rutgers. They had developed an app to locate black businesses, and the name is escaping me, and they gave it a particular name, and then, like, I guess they had mentioned it, and word got to Diddy, and Diddy put together an investment group and literally created the same app under like a similar name, and like it was this whole idea of like you just undercut this kid, like these young people have been working over a year on this app, and you just undercut them, right? And that's capitalism. Right, it turns us into cannibals.
Well, he's gonna have to answer to that, because I guess now they're talking about it. I bet you if I was to go on Twitter, he's being called everything but a child of God. I mean, he's starting to get torn up for that. I mean, but like that's how they are. I mean, remember when Jay-Z, when Occupy Wall Street came out, he came out with the T-shirts that said "Occupy All Streets," and it's like, what are you doing, right? Yeah. And these are, but. You know, when you're talking about, that's a different dynamic than the minstrel shows that we're talking about, though.
Yeah.
talking,
It is. It is. Yes.
That was, I mean, when you talk about what Black people are doing in order to become entrepreneurs, in order to getting buying into the capitalist thing, you are talking about brothers that are coming from the ground up, saying, "Hey, look, this is our opportunity to become bigger than they thought we would be." I mean, it's a little tough to say to brothers and sisters in the streets that you should only go but so far. That's kind of like bougie on our part. I mean, because I grew up middle class, so I have to add myself to this list. But it's pretty condescending to say that they cannot come up that way. However, as they always say, don't hate the player, hate the game. If we have an issue with the fact that people are going in that direction, then we got to figure out how to change that game. You know, and this was part of what I was thinking Lincoln was trying to do, and that's why we had the show when he was talking about how when he was over there talking about how labor is above capital and all that. But you know, you're dealing with the United States of America, and you turned it into an empire. So, I mean, I don't think they understood how to go about doing things. I mean. Yeah, I don't think he went about it the right way. I mean, if he was going in that direction. But when you're talking about this crowd that we're dealing with now, I mean, we got to take them seriously to some degree, because even though they're a minstrel show, the ones that I'm talking about, you have some within the minstrel show that are trying to do real things, or at the very least, trying to cause real harm.
Yeah.
And that's what brings us to what is happening on Juneteenth in New Jersey, or maybe not. So there is a racist, a bigoted rather, Islamophobic scumbag by the name of Scott Pressler out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. And he was once a member of an SPLC designated hate group called Act for America. Why are they so designated? Because they just hate Muslims. When I first heard the founder, Brigitte Gabriel, on a radio show, she was over there talking about how the birth rate of Christians was being overtaken by Muslims. And I'm just like, you know, that sounds like Nazis complaining that the white race is dying out. You know,
I just got to say something really quick. Real quick, I'm sorry. I want to let you get back to it. Whenever people talk about Muslims taking over the United States, and I think I've said this before, do we know the percentage of Americans that are Muslims? It's 1%. 1% of Americans are Muslims, right? They're not. There is no plot. They don't have the numbers. Like it's. These people need to feel like they're constantly on the defense. So whether it's critical race theory or scary Muslims or Black people, it's the same gimmick every time.
Yeah, well, we used to it. I mean, used to it by now. And the truth of the matter is, as we were just talking about with CRT, we weren't supposed to be here, you know. So basically, and ironically, neither was Scott Pressler, considering he's a gay man. So we got this character who organized a whole bunch of anti-Muslim rallies all over the country that attracted white supremacists who organized right there with him, you know. And I went to the one in New York, and it's like Identity Europa was there, the Proud Boys were there, you know, the 3 Percenters were there, Oath Keepers were there, and it's like, seriously, man.
Yeah.
Seriously,
all
this
the
is what you create.
usual suspects.
And then, I mean, a lot of people would know him best from trying to do these cleanups in towns that in cities that are democratically run, because Trump said something foul about him. So he basically uses we're going to clean up the neighborhood because Trump said the neighborhoods were dirty.
Yeah, it was Elijah Cummings.
Yeah,
that's the district he went to.
Elijah Cummings in Baltimore. Yeah, it was Elijah Cummings, and he tried to go into the neighborhood. He went to a neighborhood and said he was doing the cleanup of the neighborhood because Trump said something bad about Elijah Cummings. So he decided to go in there and make Elijah Cummings look bad. It was kind of like a divide and conquer kind of thing. Then he spread that out around the country. He was just going around the country doing the same thing in other Democratic areas. He pulled that shit in LA. I'm sorry, in the Bay Area. I believe it was in San Francisco. Got his ass turned around, and I'm gonna tell you why. When he started that, he changed up. He changed up by trying to pit black people against Hispanics, whom he called illegals.
That's what they do.
So he basically tried to do that war. That they weren't letting that happen. They also were pissed off about the fact that some of the stuff that they were throwing away was actually personal property of homeless people that lived in the area. This
don't see them as people.
Important. Seriously, this is the important thing to remember about Scott Presley. If he's in your neighborhood, he's not there to help. Tell your neighbors and anybody in any community that they're in. Scott Presley and his crew, when they do these so-called cleanups, they're not there to help. Yeah. They're there to hinder. They don't care about you. They didn't even talk to you before. They didn't even talk to anybody in the damn community before they even got there. And if they did talk to the community, you probably don't even deal with them your damn self. So the truth, and that's what happened with this dude out of Jersey named Darius Mayfield, who's like, as far as Jersey is concerned, is his partner here in Jersey. He's his boy here in Jersey, I should say. And I met him. He was doing these cleanups on behalf of Scott Presley's nonsense. He hooked up with a church, and this was in Newark. He hooked up with a church in Newark to do it. And they did, and he brought QAnon with him.
All right. My sworn enemies.
He brought QAnon to Newark, New Jersey. And I was just like, the moment I saw that, I was like, man, you dirt. You lower than dirt if you're pulling this. And he is. I mean, he's pulling the whole, if you go on his Facebook page, he was pulling the Save the Children nonsense. He was promoting that crap. I mean, he says he's not QAnon, but okay, fine. Everybody around.
He just hangs out with them, right?
Yeah. I'm not QAnon. They are.
I'm just wearing their t-shirt.
So it's okay, isn't it? No, it's not. And that's one of the things that really irks me. I mean, and that's one of the things that puts him on the hook. He's trying to run for Congress right now.
He ain't gonna win
as a Trump Republican. And he's not gonna win against Bonnie Watson Coleman. Sorry, that's not gonna happen. No one's gonna trade up. No one's gonna trade down. Sorry.
Cheers to New Jersey's gerrymandered bullshit.
In this case, it ain't that gerrymandered.
Cheers to this jackass not having a chance. The corrupt nonsense did something good for once. There you go.
That's my district, so he isn't getting my.
Hey, listen, I ain't gonna badmouth nothing keeping that jackass out of public office. It is what it is.
I mean, as we were talking about earlier, though, the problem is with this Mayfield guy is he's not going to win, right? He can be as crazy and as weird and as money grubbing and as griftering as it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, but like, look, there is a market for grifting the far right. It's been there for years, and now with Trump, the money is to. We've seen Milo Yiannopoulos. Now he's not gay anymore, magically.
Right, and that's one of the things to remember. Whenever you see these guys running for offices that they know they can't win, I call them fundraisers because that's all they're doing. They're just raising money to do whatever later, and there's no difference here. I mean, when we saw Ron Paul run for president, they was getting all kinds of contributions, all kinds of donations, but not spending a dime of it.
And now he does infomercials for gold and
worse. What is
the weirdest shit Ron Paul has tried to sell us? What is the weirdest?
No, it's not about that, baby. It's not about that. Because Pat Buchanan did this too. They raised all kind of campaign funds, and they didn't spend a lot of them. They didn't spend hardly any of them. And then afterwards, because you had to give your campaign funds to a nonprofit organization, they started one. In Pat Buchanan's case, it was the American Cause, and in Ron Paul's case, it was the Campaign for Liberty, which was all over the Tea Party back in the day. So that's what that's what they are trying to do. That's what they are trying to create. That's what the grifting is coming from in this day and age, because people know that they can create organizations and things with fundraisers. And I know we lost Christian. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. I thought I did click some, but I think he lost his connection. I'm sure he'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back. So, but what I was going to say about Mayfield, we don't know where he's going to go after he loses this election. But we do know where he's not going to go. Where he's probably not going to go this weekend.
One of the things I'm grateful for that nobody pays attention to our politics anymore really hard in this country is that this guy's running. But I mean, politics is a platform. Like, that's what you're saying, is by using, this platform, and it kind of brings to mind, the Antifa argument, the argument you bring up, the argument I bring up is who you allow stages to matters. And, when you have a political system that allows this foolishness, you're going to have, foolishness. What do you expect? Ask if you have these political parties are more based on shock value, and so you have the Republicans, which are kind of using the shock value almost like the Rush Limbaugh type political system now, and you have the Democrats that just want to be loved by everybody and can't make any coherent policy out of anything that they try to do. So what do we expect until we have some political education in the system about how to run, societies? And my comrade Diane's on there saying they lost power. That's a big deal too. I mean, Diane's right. A lot of what we're seeing and why.
I thought she was talking about Christian.
No. Oh, maybe they did? No, I think she's talking about like the Republicans.
No, I know she is. But Christian is I saw. Yeah,
and that's what makes them so dangerous. And that's what makes them so that they did lose power and that they're scrambling. And when you study history, and Daryle, you brought this up, they don't go away. They're like roaches when the lights come on, man. They just go into the walls and they did Christian. They did this. Well, I thought it was political commentary, Diane. I'm sorry. But it does bear to mind that, while we're talking about Republicans, while we're talking about these right wings, their hero is out of office and unable to communicate via major social media platforms. And that has consequences, and not all of them are positive.
Well, I want to get back to what I was talking about with Scott Press, but I want to wait till Christian comes back so we can get into a conversation a little bit more about that. But since you're a metalhead and I'm a metalhead, and we were talking about God forbid and Exodus and all that when we started off the show, I want to talk about about something that actually brought us together.
Yes, I'm listening to God forbid right after this show, by the way. Right
after. We first met when there was something called Vengeance Fest happening at a club called Dingbats. Hey, Christian, welcome back.
Oh, I don't know. I got blacked out for a second, and then all of a sudden I lost internet.
We missed you.
Power grid.
We were getting ready to talk about, but we were waiting for you. But we'll get back to Scott Wrestling in a minute. But since I already started up on this metal show that's supposed to be happening somewhere in Jersey, yeah. It's a black metal show, but it has NSBM bands, and NSBM stands for National Socialist Black Metal Bands.
Real quick, black metal does not mean black people playing metal for our fans out there. It's a certain type of metal music. A lot of it comes out of Scandinavia, focusing on like fantasy imagery and whatnot, monsters, demons, the devil and whatnot. That's black metal. I just wanted to put that.
Of course, when I do say NSBM, you can still call it National Socialist Bowel Movement as opposed to Black.
I like that one a lot better.
Yeah,
although there have been some fantastic black metal artists. Right?
No. I said black metal bands. I didn't say NSBM. There are no fantastic NSBM.
We can't confuse the two with.
Yeah. But there were some that are going to be on this. There were some that was on this bill several years ago, and we had sounded the alarm about it, and then we ended up we were told that the bands were not going to play, and then all of a sudden they played, and the club Dingbats said that they would no longer work with that producer Kyle. His name is Kyle Powell. Now comes Vengeance Fest 5, and this time Powell decided that he was going to keep it on the DL where the show was going to be. He was going to he was being very vague about at least one of the bands, because one of the bands that was scheduled to play this latest Vengeance Fest, which is supposed to be happening on Juneteenth, actually the 19th and the 20th. Hey Selena. One of the bands that was supposed to be played in that last Vengeance Fest that brought me and Brian together in solidarity and in protest. And he's the reason why we have this office now. So, but anyway, that band got taken off the bill and was placed with a band that no one ever heard of. That had no background, and it was confirmed when you, if you was to go on to Kyle's Facebook page, that it was quite possibly members of said NSBM band. And in addition, he announced that there was going to be a special guest that was also going to be performing this show. Now, curiously enough, I'm going through stuff on YouTube. Oh, not YouTube, but on Facebook. And there's a white power band called Blue Eyed Devils that was really popular back in the day, popular among them. I mean, basically, they're a band that rips off another hardcore band called Hatebreed. So if you like Hatebreed, listen to Hatebreed. Don't freaking listen to Blue
that first Hatebreed album was fire.
Yeah.
First Hatebreed album was fire.
Hatebreed is no joke. And
tough guy metal from back in the day, but when you're 18 years old, that's some good tough guy metal.
Big dick energy, I believe, is what it's called.
Okay,
hey, a lot of NYA. I'll be perfectly honest with you. They say that about hardcore to begin with, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the shit that brought me into the world.
That's the guy love, man.
I love myself some Hatebreed. I love myself some Sick of It All, Agnostic Front, Madball.
I saw Hatebreed with you.
No, shit. No, I'm not dissing hardcore.
I love Mad.
Vision, rest in peace, Dave Franklin. So so I'm not dissing hardcore. But when you're Blue Eyed Devils, I'm dissing you like a motherfucker. Well, they have been around for a while, So and they started announcing that sometime in June they have a show, and they told people to keep like the middle of June free. So we're wondering if that's the band that's the special guest at this show. And the thing we found out is that they're playing. We got the name of the venue. We got the address. It's rumored to be in Asbury, New Jersey, not Asbury Park.
Not Asbury Park.
Yeah. We almost made that mistake, but
Asbury.
And if you know anything about Asbury, it's way up North Jersey. It's really boondocking kind of area. And the place that they're in is the place they're going to is off the highways. They probably don't even know what's on their hands, but we can't say where it is exactly because we can't be sure that they're going to be playing there. As far as I'm concerned, they're going to have their gig. They are going to have their gig, and it's going to be unfortunate for the venue that that's hosting them, because they're going to get all that fucking hell coming their way. And to which I have to say, look, whenever you hear about any white power show that is happening anywhere and they're trying to keep it on the DL, make sure at the very least you should start sounding the alarm, saying that this show is happening in your area, and and any possible venues should review any bookings that they have on said day, so that you can make sure that they are not the unwitting hosts of
dupes
of the show. I mean, it's not fair to these establishments that are just trying to get ahead, just trying to make a living, and just trying to do things for the entire community, not just your selfish ass.
Yeah.
Not just some selfish Nazi ass motherfuckers. So
they need to know, because those Nazis will come back, right? Like if you let them in, vampires, once you let them in, they'll just keep coming back, right? Like and you have to tell them no in the beginning, nip the bud in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm telling people, hey, look, just let people know, let the venues know, or let people in Asbury in particular know that on June 19th, if you have a venue booked, if your venue is booked for something like a birthday party, make sure if it's booked by Kyle Powell, you got some dirt on your hands. If it's booked by KEP Productions, there's your problem. You may have some problems this weekend. So remember that it's supposed to be in Asbury. Rumor has it that it's in Asbury. We do know it's in Jersey. So if it's not in Asbury, sending a shout out to Jersey to keep an eye out on on any venue that this could be happening in. So, we're just getting the word out there right now. Unfortunately, it may not work. So, but we did get the word out about Scott Presler and Darius Mayfield's events that was supposed to be happening at the American Legion Hall in Middlesex Borough and in North Brunswick, New Jersey, which is not too far away from where I'm at right now. And we might have shut it down because the American Legion doesn't want this kind of smoke either, because they just got in trouble for, per the CIT discussion, cutting off the mic of a lieutenant colonel who was trying to, on Memorial Day, tell the events to talk about the beginnings of Memorial Day, and which unfortunately for CRT haters was about slaves basically begging up the Civil War Union soldiers.
Yeah. So really quick to respond to Selena, not this comment here, but she says her sister just moved to again, we're not talking about Asbury Park. Not
Asbury Park.
A concert like this in Asbury Park would be suicidal for these people. We're talking Asbury up North New Jersey, halfway between Lebanon, New Jersey, and Easton, PA. Not Asbury Park, thankfully. Not my county.
Yeah, we thought so in the beginning, but it's like,
no.
Let's make sure we got this one right. So, but we did talk. But back to the Presler Mayfield thing. So Scott Presler is on a tour. So on a tour, trying to do what he calls registration training, as in voter registration training. He's trying to big up Republican candidates that think like him, and he has his tour going through some particularly safe areas in this country. I don't know why he thought Jersey would be one of them, but he's coming here to do two in New Jersey on Juneteenth. One is in Middlesex Borough, as I said, the Middlesex Borough Post, American Legion Post, and the other is in the North Brunswick American Legion Post. But it's a possibility that they might not be happening. I'm trying to get confirmation of this. We got an email. Our people got an email saying from the American Legion Department of New Jersey that, quote, this has been taken care of. State leadership was informed county leadership who took care of situation. Thank you for your interest in this matter. So we may not. So Presler and Mayfield might not have a gig this Saturday. At least not at the American Legion Hall, because as we know, they'll get some other place that will host them. Which is why I would say also again, if you see Scott Presler or Darius Mayfield booking your spot, that's what's coming your way. Some anti-Muslim QAnon BS that you really don't want to play host to. So just keep an eye out on that this weekend. You could talk about hotels, you could talk about some restaurant or someplace like that. It's any place they can hold this thing at any kind of venue. Somebody's house. And although I will say, if they hold it at somebody's house, that means that person is dirty as hell. And that's a person that we'll be keeping an eye on here in Jersey from then on.
Yeah, good.
So,
no safe space specialists.
Yeah, so damn, this hour went by quick.
It did, didn't it? We were just talking too. This is what happens when you just talk.
Yeah, right.
Before we close out, I wanted to just kick it back to the stuff going on there in Warren County and Asbury. You mentioned, this area is kind of like, if people think of New Jersey as like a liberal democratic kind of counterpart to New York or Philadelphia, but it's really eclectic and weird in different sections. I'm telling you right now, the people of Northwest Jersey need to wake the fuck up, because they've had some serious involvement with 3%ers, with criminal gangs, with prison gangs. And just because you lily white and you live in a nice area doesn't mean people aren't doing some shady shit in your area. And I'll tell you right now, we know for a fact there are neo-Nazis that operate in Northwest Jersey. And, the area votes Republican. It's going to be Republican. And we talked about, people maybe in the conservative movement having a better conservative movement. I can't think of a place where common sense needs to take root more in New Jersey than in northwest part of New Jersey, where essentially white supremacists have taken over the Republican Party, and rich white douchebags who only pay attention to voting I've allowed them to get away with it. So, I'm not in a place here to call out specific names because it's pretty fucking widespread. And I was in some Facebook groups monitoring them, looking, under some aliases and stuff. There are people talking about murdering people in Facebook groups, not just a year or so ago. A lot of them got shut down. They live amongst white millionaires, white well-to-do people with plenty of money who are only concerned with voting Republican because they like that party. Please pay attention to your local politics in northwestern New Jersey. You got real problems there. You got real problems.
I heard of Asbury, New Jersey was my freshman year of college.
And that's why Nazis are comfortable coming and having a little concert in your little white enclave.
Yeah. My freshman year, my roommate was from Asbury, New Jersey, and I had never heard Asbury, New Jersey. And he's like, "Oh, it's north of Frenchtown." And later on, he had told me, "Yeah, we've got skinhead, white supremacists up here." And I was like, "Wow, okay, yeah, they're in Jersey, and that's where they're up in that area." So I mean, just keep an eye out to the Republicans out there. Just what your party.
And I got well funded and protected by those communities, and they should all be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, and I got a co-sign on that too, because in 2008 when Obama won, there was Obama supporters. There was an Obama supporting family out there, and they had Obama banners on their house. We know how that was back then in 2008. Well, their house got vandalized. Somebody had ripped those banners down, put it, formed it in the shape of a cross, and set it on fire on their lawn. That was in Hardwick, New Jersey, which is up down that way near the Delaware Water Gap. We also have a neo-Nazi that couldn't even read, but insisted that ShopRite up there, that's our grocery store up here, do a birthday cake with their son's name on it. At the time, the son's name was Adolf Hitler. They named their child Hitler or Aryan Nation.
They took that kid away from him.
Yeah, but they took all of his kids away from him. He's so bad. He's so bad that when his girlfriend or when his wife had a baby, the state was there to take the child.
He had two hobbies: hating people and making crystal meth. Basically, that was
If you Google SPLC,
real winner in life.
For those that are out there that are interested, if you go to the Southern Poverty Law Center website, spnr.org/hates, you can get the hate map of the country, and you can see what hate groups are active in your state. Unfortunately, they're everywhere, and every hate group in this country has representation in New Jersey.
But we know how to handle them. And we just got to be able to just put our heads together and just deal with it as we should. And sometimes we need money. Sometimes we need money to do it. And the way we do that is by, first of all, One People's Project. One People's Project, you can always go to onepeoplesproject.com/donate. But we also have onepeoplesproject.com/. Oh, by the way, we're a 501c3, but we also can go to onepeoplesproject.com/merch. Let's turn on that beautiful video that I showed a couple of weeks ago. This is going to come up every now and again. We have these kinds of t-shirts. That's my little brother, Tyrone. And he's modeling t-shirts that we have for sale on the website. That's a friend of mine and my niece. She's wearing our Antifa beanies. Those are buttons that we have for sale. And you can get this if you just go to onepeoplesproject.com/merch. And yes, we have bumper stickers, but when you do place an order, you can get this this tract called 40 Ways to Fight Fascists While Supplies Last. We'll be more than happy to hand them off to you. You'll be very happy to get all of that stuff. But and that's what I got. That's what One People's Project has, and we need you. And by the way, if you're on Facebook, you see us doing something. One People's Project's website, Facebook page is doing a fundraiser. We're trying to raise about $2,100 by July 4th, which will be our 21st anniversary. So if you can donate, please do. Like I said, we're a 501c3. We're tax deductible, and that's it for the day. Brian, what you got?
Man, tomorrow night we're having Jessica Barokel on the show with Dr. Flavio Hickel. We're going to talk about election fraud and corruption and all kinds of weird things that go on during primaries, which pretty much nobody ever pays attention to. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then, we're only 1 week away from our coffee shop appearance. Come on out, man. Hang out. Look, the apocalypse is over. If you're not fully vaccinated, wear a mask. But most of us at this point I know I'm fully vaccinated. I know most of the people I'm talking to are vaxxed up and safe. So come on out, man. Grab a cup of coffee with your friends. I have had some anxiety before going back out. And for those of you that haven't gone back out yet, maybe waiting for the inoculations, let me tell you something. Most of your anxiety melts away about 5 minutes after you shake your first hand and you have a coffee with a comrade again. So I'm really looking forward to helping people break that ice, get out and live life again. Come on out, man. It's a great place. Have a cup of coffee. We're going to have we're going to have panels on elections. We're going to talk about Palestine. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Check us out.
And we got to stress something that's very important about that. We're not coming on at 9 o'clock. We're going to be coming on at 8:45. There's
7:45 for the. Well, the show will go live at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
okay.
The show will go live at 6 o'clock. We will have NJRR, featured guests, panels, and stuff like that. The Idavox report starts at 7:45 p.m. next Tuesday, about 15 minutes early, so we can get out of there 15 minutes early.
So all right. So yeah, 7:45. I said 8:45. Yeah, my bad. Yeah,
Go
7:45.
Live at 6 p.m.
Hey, Christian, do you have anything that you need to let people know about?
No, I'm gonna be there on June 22nd. Can't wait for it. Let's have some fun. And then tomorrow night we're going to be talking about fraud and voter suppression and the primaries. So come on out, check it out.
All right. So without further ado, thank you, Christian. Thank you, Brian. I just want to say goodbye. Thank you for having us again here, and I will see you next week, June 22nd. We're going to be live. We're always live, but we're going to be live and in person. That's the difference. So 7:45. That's when this show will start. 7:45. We're going to have ourselves a good old time. Peace.
Thrown against the car, handcuffed, and that's what happened last night.
The police kicked in the door, shot him twice in the chest, and died.
before you knew it, we had 500 families. We had over 100 volunteers calling us. We were on the phone constantly.
And I can't get, and I got one police department telling me they don't know who's in charge. I got another police department here. Everybody's got a gun, and nobody knows who's in charge. Did anybody figure out who's in charge yet? Is there anybody in charge here? Any police officer in charge? Are you in charge? I can't find anybody in charge. That's the problem.